Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good evening, depending where you're joining us from the world today. My name is Salima Bhatia, and I head communications at the Institute of Ismaili Studies, based at the Aga Khan Centre in London. Welcome to today's talk entitled Restoring the Values of the Past, Why I Created a Music School in Tajikistan. This talk is part of a series of talks complementing the Aga Khan Foundation's current outdoor exhibition in Granary Square, King's Cross, London, entitled The Silk Road, A Living History Exhibition. The Silk Road is an open-air photography exhibition by travel photographer Christopher Wilton Steer, and the exhibition documents Wilton Steer's journey along the historic trade route where he travelled 40,000 kilometres overland by car, bus, train, ferry, horse and camel from London to Beijing, traversing 16 countries. Comprising over 160 photographs, The Silk Road, A Living History invites viewers to take a journey from London to Beijing, encountering many of the people, places and cultures along this ancient trade route. Photographs are from Iran, from Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, India, China, and elsewhere. And the show really aims to celebrate the diversity of cultural expressions found along the Silk Road, to highlight examples of how historical practices, rituals, and customs live on today. It also seeks to engender interest and understanding between different cultures and challenge perceptions of less well-known and understood parts of the world. Today's talk by Dr. Otambek Mastibekov aims to give listeners an insight into a musical tradition that is particular to the Nāṣir Ismaili Muslims of Badakhshani in the Pamiri Mountains along the famous Silk Road. Dr. Otambek Mastibekov is currently a manuscript researcher and cataloguer of Persian, Arabic and Russian sources in the Ismaili Special Collections Unit at the Institute of Ismaili Studies, London. He's also the founder and director of the School of Devotional Poetry, madḥiya-khānī, in Khorog, Tajikistan. Prior to this, Dr. Mastibekov worked as a research assistant at the Central Asian Studies Unit at the IIS. He obtained his PhD in Theology and Religious Studies from SOAS in 2009, supervised by Dr. Shirin Akina. In this talk, Dr. Mastibekov will share why he felt compelled to establish a music school in Tajikistan that focused on the teaching and promotion of madḥiya-khānī, the devotional songs and music of the Badakhshani Pamiri Ismaili Muslims. Madḥiya is a poetic genre in Persian and Arabic literature. For the Ismaili Muslims of the Silk Road, who you will find residing in Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Western China, and Northern Pakistan, madḥiya is devotional singing that embodies the art of music, religion, philosophy, and ethics. Known in the region as madḥiya-khānī or qaṣīda-khānī, singing qaṣīda, its origin goes back, according to tradition, to the 11th century poet, philosopher, and traveller Nāṣir Khusraw. Dr. Mastibekov will explore how components of religious and cultural values were lost during the Soviet period in Tajikistan, and the role of the music school in restoring some of these values. He will share the challenges involved in establishing the school, of recovering knowledge related to this historical musical tradition, as well as learning about the origin of Badakhshani musical instruments. Dr. Mastibekov will share stories and video clips of the students at the music school and his plans and hopes for its future. Finally, he will touch upon the history of madḥiya literature and the manuscript preservation and analysis work that takes place at the Ismaili Special Collections Unit at the Institute of Ismaili Studies. Before I hand over to Otambek, I just want a couple of Zoom keeping announcements. We'd love to hear where you're from and receive your comments and questions that you might have for Dr. Mastibekov. Please use the question and answer box to post your questions, and we'll try and address some of those in the Q&A. Today's event is being recorded and will be shared on the Aga Khan Foundation UK's YouTube channel in due course. I'm going to now hand you over to Otambek Mastibekov. I think we're in for a real treat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Salima, for your generous introduction. And good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depends on your location. Today I am going to talk about restoring the values of the past, creating a school of music in Tajikistan. This talk will elucidate the connection between history and culture, culture and education and knowledge. To read the same sentence backwards, we can say there is no knowledge without education, no education without culture, and no culture without history. Apparently today we have audience with different backgrounds, and I endeavor to make my talk as simple as I can. So to begin with, I just want to shed light on few key names, words, and phrases that will be used frequently in this discourse and probably not so familiar for all audiences, but I'm sure for some of you they are very familiar, but for those who are for the first time in the field, I'll just need to talk a bit about this words and phrases. So the first one is Central Asia, and now I have to share with you my screen. The first one is Central Asia. Yes, Central Asia is a region in Asia which stretches from the Caspian Sea in the west to China and Mongolia in the east, and from Afghanistan and Iran in the south to Russia in the north. The region actually consists of mainly 5 republics that were part of the Soviet Union actually until 1991, and these are Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. So, and as you can see in the map, you can see the location of Central Asia, and then you can see the location of Tajikistan as well. And now this is the map of Tajikistan. So about Tajikistan, it's a country in Central Asia. Now you already saw it in the map, surrounded by Afghanistan, China, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. And it is known for rugged mountains, popular for inking and this climbing. And the population of Tajikistan is above 9 million people. So, and you can see the location of the Pamir to the east side of Tajikistan here. And my talk is going to be mainly about this part of Tajikistan. And this part of Tajikistan is called autonomous province of Badakhshani. So, and most of the population in this region are Ismailis, and Ismailis are Muslims of the Shia sect. So, and regarding the Institute of Ismaili Studies, Salima already told you about this shortly. This is the Institute of Ismaili Studies where I work now, established in 1977 as a research institute in London, United Kingdom. It aims to promote the study of Muslim cultures and societies, both historical and contemporary, in order to foster a greater understanding of their relationships with other societies and faiths. So, and the other term which will be used in this talk is Sufism. Sufism is also known as Tasawwuf. Is a mysticism in Islam, also part of Islam, and characterized by values, ritual practices, doctrines, and institutions. I will talk about this more when I come to amalgamation between Ismailism and Sufism. So now a short introduction about madḥiya. Briefly, you already know, as Salima mentioned, it's a poetic genre in Persian and Arabic literature. And for Ismaili Muslims of the Silk Road, I mean Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Western China, and Northern Pakistan, madḥiya is the devotional singing that embodies the art of music, religion, philosophy, and ethics, known in the region as madḥiya-khānī, but in some part of Badakhshani, it also called qaṣīda-khānī. Both the qaṣīda and madḥiya, as I mentioned, a genre of Persian literature. Actually, madḥiya is, let's say, part of qaṣīda. Qaṣīda is a wider term, and madḥiya is more narrow, which is in the praise of certain people. This is the opening ceremony of Maktab madḥiya-khānī that I share with you, and here also then I this was the opening ceremony. Actually, I started to work on this project since 2005, and finally in 2011 I managed to open the school in Khoroge together with an organization called Noor, and also with the Republic of this Ministry of Education, Republic of Tajikistan. And as you can see here, that two things probably you notice right away. One is most of the participants here are older generation, and the second one is just male-oriented. And this is the first group, and the reason actually for this, why it is just male-oriented. Until 1991, actually, madḥiya was performed only by male. In a very rare occasion, women would recite madḥiya. Otherwise, let's say 99%, it was done just by male. And why the old generation, you can see here, for the first group, the reason was that there was no actually criteria for engaging the students. What we did is just to call those actually madḥiya reciters that did it hereditary from generation to generation, and these were actually the people that kept actually this sacred tradition, and they were the one actually were resilient to the Soviet regime, and it's just because of them that we today were able to see this tradition and because of them, we didn't lose this tradition. And therefore, the first group, we wanted just to involve this group, actually to learn first from them, and then to pass it to the new generation.
همه شما رو پیش از همه خیر مقدم میگم و اظهار سپاس میکنم. تشکر زیاد برای همگی شما که ما رو دستگیری نمودید با طرح‌ریزی این برنامه و در عمل گرداندن این مکتب و امید بزرگ داریم که در یک جایگی ما میتوانیم این مکتب در آینده به یکی از مکتب‌های بزرگ تبدیل داده شود که فرهنگ ما، مذهب ما، دین ما، اخلاق ما، تمدن ما انعکاسگر آن می‌گردد و نه تنها این چیز در مقیاس بدخشان بلکه بیرون از بدخشان و در تمام دنیا باید پهن بگردد. و مقصد اساسی این مکتب نیز این است که یعنی فرهنگ نه تنها برای ما بلکه برای جهانیان باشد، چون که امروز جهان کوچک شده است، یعنی بسیار خرد شده است و همگی را می‌داند و ما هم باید کوشش بکنیم که خودمان را و دیگران معرفی بکنیم، معرفی با فرهنگ، با علم، با تمدن و دیگر نیت‌های.
Now we have got the idea and the purpose why we opened this school, and usually when people are opening school, they start actually with books or with ideas or like that. But in this case, we will start actually with musical instrument. It's with this particular musical instrument that actually madḥiya starts. And actually, even this instrument is the origin of human being's journey, starting from his birth until to his death. And the meaning of rubab consists of two parts. The first is rub, and the second one is bab. Yeah, and in Persian now it's called rubab, but in our group of Pamiri languages we call it rabab. So rab means Lord, and bob, door or gate. In other words, the meaning of rabab is gate to the Lord. So rabab was the sacred musical instrument for Badakhshani Ismailis. In Badakhshan, until recently, it was hard to find a household that didn't have a rabab in. Even though in some households, maybe no one can play in rabab, but they still kept it, which has three symbolical meanings. The first, it is considered as barakat-e-khānī, means the blessing of the house. The second, the sound of the rabab symbolizes calling or praising to Allah, the prophets, and the rightful imam. And the third one is the symbolical meaning of the rabab is the physical form of it. It's believed that this wood has been brought from paradise, and sometimes it is from the tree Toba, which is in Islam believe that this is a tree which is in paradise, and this is the name of that tree. It's of course according to oral tradition, and now it is clear that rabab means rabab just gives pure religious meaning. Although music is halal or haram, means forbidden or not in Islam, So far a debatable, it's still so far a debatable issue among the Muslim religious scholars, but we are not going to it at the moment. The form of the rubab. The form of the rubab and its origin is not fully explored yet, neither by artistic scholarship nor by the historical or archaeological researchers. However, for the present, we have a traditional belief or oral history that depicts the form and the origin of the rubab. Traditionally, it is believed that when God first created the form of human being from clay, the forms were illustrated in different shapes, and then a host reaching to each single form and started to destroy them by his legs until he reached the final form that God shaped it in his own form. Then the host stopped and didn't destroy this form, and the first human being, Adam, was created in this form. To this end, if we take the rubab upside down, you can see there, it gives the form of human being, and if we look into it from the vertical direction, it illustrates the form of os. Now, as you can see that the left one just gives the form of os, and the right one gives the form of a human being. So, when the form was created, God commanded the soul to enter the body, and the soul was actually scared to enter to the body, and then Allah ordered it to bring a wood from paradise. I just said that it's called toba, and ordered it to fix a few strings on it that was made from the gut of a sheep and to play. When it was played, the soul enjoyed and entered the body. So this is the story. Actually, comes in Rumi's poetry as well. That when he said that he scarred the wood and fixed on it a few strings, the commander of the world, 100 kinds of voices and lament came out from each single string, became a vocifer. So, and as you can see, Rabab contains 6 strings that embodies the 6 great prophets: Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. And also the 6 strings symbolizes the 6 sides of human being: right, left, back, front, top, and down. And according to Wajidin of Nāṣir Khusraw, a human being is encompassed from 6 sides by 6 prophets. In other words, the sound of Rabab encompasses the human being from 6 sides, as it's surrounded from the 6 sides by 6 prophets. So this is about Rabab, and now the story of the dance. Why it is
who dance in honor of birth and death. Dance, which has been passed on from father to son. Dance, expressing everyday life. Dance, which cannot be found in a dance school. Dance that is theatrical. Dance that tells a story of love, story of joy and happiness, story of a man and his horse.
Again, you saw horse here, and one I said that the journey is going to be through horse. Horse also symbolizes the body of a human being that carries the soul. It is the soul that leads the horse, and it is the horse that brings the soul to its destination. So it's the physical meaning of this and also the spiritual part. And now this is the first performance in the school. This is the traditional way of madḥiya recitation that carried out actually for centuries in Badakhshani. Yeah, this is the old form. And in the Soviet period, the funeral ceremony was almost the sole event that madḥiya was performed, not in any other occasions. And they gave it actually cultural connotation instead of religion. But still, it was a risk reciting madḥiya with the following text, as you notice in this one. It straight away talks about the personality of Ali as the first Imam. So, and also the second one, now as you can see here. Also, if you pay attention to the rhythm of the music, in that part you can feel the running of the horse. Actually, the first one was slow, where the horse is just walking, and then this one, as you can see, it goes like this. It symbolizes actually the running of the horse. Yeah, and this is actually, let's say, the second part of journey of a human being. And now here, another purpose of the school and also the Institute of Ismaili Studies. You can see now we have a manuscript from Badakhshani, which is the one of Rumi. This one is from Soviet period. Yeah, and actually the madḥiya just was recited. We can see it here, this one, but there is a difference between the text of this manuscript and the way that actually they recite it. And now it's also one of the aim and the responsibility of the school actually to work on this actually text, and in the future all the poems, the qaṣīdas, the madḥs should be in a very how to say, in a very maybe professional way, or without any errors that we can see so far. We cannot blame anyone for this, because actually those who recited the madḥiya during the Soviet Union, most of them even didn't know the script. Actually, during the Soviet, the Persian and Arabic script was changed to Cyrillic, and some of them just learned madḥiya through oral tradition, or they took it from each other, the way that they wrote one to another in a Cyrillic script, and they learned it by that. And they actually were quite far from from original sources. But even this one, as you can see, this manuscript, is even the quality of this manuscript is poor. I mean, the handwriting. It's actually the effect or the impact of the Soviet regime. This is the kind of religious practice through folk music, actually. And compared to the traditional way of singing that was shown before explicitly with the praise of the Prophet and the Imams, here they hide the meaning under the cover of traditional dance. And the text here can depict religious meaning or ethical or just art, an example of nature, spring, and nightingale that I will show you in the next one. Yeah. And from here, it moved to social event as well. Yeah, here you can see the social event, and again Rumi poetry. Yeah, I will talk then later about the Sufis, but you can see that it was performed not only for, let's say, for the spiritual part. You can see in the material actually enjoyment, wedding, and social events. Actually, they were used, and this is another example that now the modern one, this is in the Ismaili Center of Dushanbe, and compared to the traditional one, now they can use the same text and with the modern way of dancing. As I said that in the first one, it was just male oriented, but here you can see that girls are also involved and they can dance. And even this kind of dance is actually new, it didn't exist actually before.
نگاهی خود را نگشت گردی خواب نه برداشت
This was another way of hiding the spiritual meaning actually under the culture or the theater or the social event. And the meaning of this, this is the new one, just 2 years before, but the original was actually performed in the Soviet period in 70s and 80s by another famous singer in Tajikistan. Her name was the Begim Mirzo-Khandava, the same song, and no one did pay attention to the esoteric meaning of this poem by that time, and probably today as well, as it goes back to the recitation, to the creation of human being and the story of rubab and the soul that I told you before. Yeah, it's actually the meaning of this song again about the creation of human beings. That it says that I saw my sweet heart wandering about the house, yeah, here taking the rubab and was playing a melody. Goes back to the creation of human beings. But in this case, most people, yeah, accept it just in a, let's say, modern art of music.
دل من بر تو کباب است تو خود میدانی بر سر من چو عذاب است تو خود میدانی منم در عشق تو جام شرابم تو خود میدانی
Now, as you see, we came from the very old traditional way to the folk music, to the cultural, to the social event. And now this one is, in this slide, we can see that culture and tradition are always in a process of change through history. And the devotional literature is now can be performed with modern musical instrument in a form of jazz music as well. Nevertheless, the message remains the same. We can hear modern music with the classical text. And again, I will show one more manuscript here from our IIS collection, so which illustrate actually the same song, the same song, but the performer sang it with a quite differently. Again, it means that they didn't have access to original sources. We cannot say that they are making mistake. Yeah, their text is also not wrong, but different from the original one. Yeah, here we can see that فصل دنیا چه خراب است تو هم میدانی.
دوران فرنا تماما ما شامپولی ترید اجازه سمینار بخوات بین مدخلین خدمال ماشد یه چیز نامحق جواب ناخوش شده بوده تیستید و اکو دوید نامحق در چیز دست یاری دانم جواب درینه دی دم پروتش نزدی مکردن موبایل باما تماشسید خیمان باید کنم انتباد مخلوطاتی پس باید کنیامی مالو که چیز کنید نالماشم دم درون لب واسط منوزره شد که شاید اون شخصیت ها رو پرسید که وای ها دوام در چی زمین یعنی یک دل درون در شاید وای دمک جان کنید.
Now here the important thing is that we need to make a research actually through the sources, through the school, through the performance. Now all these things should go together. And as now we see the importance of the school is that not only those who are studying in the school, but even those who are not there, now actually they are curious about the meaning of certain verses. And here you saw that it comes from Khayyam. Yeah, the quatrains from Khayyam, and the meaning of that comes from the community. And although it necessarily doesn't mean that they don't know the meaning, yeah, but they are curious about the spiritual meaning of this verse, and that's why they ask those who are studying in this school to answer, to take the answer. And now, finally, about the Sufis. Yeah, most scholars believe that Sufis and Ismailis interweave to the extent that it is difficult in most cases to differentiate them in terms of the religious interpretation. I cannot go into the details on this issue because of the time limitation, but one important point is worth to share with you, that one can differentiate Ismailism from Sufism. Sufism is a religious institution with a doctrine that gives prevalence to the spiritual world and to the spiritual life, in compared to the material one. For Ismailis, on the other hand, both spiritual life and material life are playing an equal role in the life of mankind. We saw all this actually through all this performance. We saw it in the wedding, we saw it in the culture, we saw it just in the pure qaṣīda tradition. And everywhere we saw that both of them are going together. And now here we can, even the movement here you can see that the dance movement should follow the meaning of the text. And compared to Sufis, they are just whirling, just circling around. But here, as you can see that the meaning when it says the truth is, he came and went throughout history, and finally he appeared as an Arab, referring to Prophet Muhammad, and conquered the world. And as you can see that he welcomed him. This prolonged voice that stretches the A or sometimes O longer and longer, very peculiar in all kinds of Badakhshani music, and it also gives a different meaning according to the event and content. In the present performance, it's calling for the truth through the nature, body, and soul. Yeah, here also you can see that the meaning, that the breath is a secret. Yeah, and it doesn't say the movement actually, as you notice there, doesn't go with the eyes, but you have to accept it, and he calls it to himself through the heart. Again, the manuscript of this poem. This is quite long in this manuscript. And again, we need to make a research on it and to make a full investigation and to compare with all this performance. As you saw here, the single one in front plays the spiritual part, and the four others in the back are playing the material part, showing the mundane activities running after the worldly matters, and also certain action of cultivating land and like this. And the last one, this is a symbol of departure of the soul, but music doesn't end actually here as well. It still continues, and you can see it here. Yeah, as you can see that it's the end of the life, but still not the end of the life. And as you can see, new generations are coming, and you can see this beautiful boy here. And the conclusion is music is the infallible friend of the soul that accompany him or her through the entire journey, either through the horse if you want, or without the horse. But as I said, the horse symbolizes the body of human being, and the soul symbolizes the intellect. So we should carry out our soul through our body to its final destination through intellect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Otam. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I have my my talkie.
All
It doesn't
it
doesn't fit on top of my headphones, so I won't wear it. But I dusted it off for today. I remember.
But you know one sentence in Shogni.
Yeah, Montoki Chikhatsa.
Oh yeah, Motoki Chikhatsa.
Thank you very much. It really took me back. I had the pleasure of visiting Badakhshani and Khorog, and hearing all of these sounds really took me back to that visit in 1998. And I remember getting off the plane, and I hadn't even been taken to my accommodation, and I was a student doing some field research, and I straight away went to a person's family's house, and we danced and sang, and there was poetry, and it is really one of my overwhelming memories of Badakhshan. And I was listening as you were going through your presentation, that yes, I can see that many of the spiritual references or religious kind of symbolism and knowledge sometimes gets lost over generations. But I think what is clear, and maybe this is also the way that music and song and dance and this kind of heritage, it really becomes a kind of space for people to express their love, devotion, passion. So there is a different layer of meaning other than the kind of literal meaning to the words, or the kind of symbolic and esoteric meaning. So I think it's very clear from all of those performances, no matter what context, that you can really see that love and that expression through music. But we have a number of questions in the Q&A, which I will just come to. And I just wanted to also ask that you know, you mentioned quite clearly that there were a lot, it's quite a male-dominated, madḥiya-khānī was quite a male-dominated tradition. And I just wanted you to maybe tell us a bit more about how the school has helped to rebalance or promote the participation of women in this musical heritage. You touched on it a bit, but if you can start with that, and I'm just looking at the other questions as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good question. But it was not a challenging issue before, because in the funeral ceremony, it consisted of two parts. One is the third night, which is called the ceremony of Charograushan, and the first when is the burial ceremony. In the burial ceremony, only traditionally women used to sing, not male. After the dead body is carried to the grave, only women, it was done by women, and not by male.
Oh.
So, and the second part was done by male only, the qaṣīda. And as I said, that the issue never was challenging, and I cannot say that the school introduced to make the balance. It came in a sense the requirement of the modern culture, or like this. It came, as I said, that the religion and tradition, they are always subject to change throughout history, yeah. And now we can see that even since 1995, when Imam first visited Badakhshan, many ladies were involved in such kind of, let's say, work performance, although the qaṣīdas by that time still were not recited by the ladies, just by me. But still, it started by that time. And I cannot say that it was a challenge or tough issue, or some women were not happy with this or happy. It was part of that tradition, they accepted it. And when the world started to change, the human rights, equality of male and female, it came automatically, bit by bit. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I mean, so there's a few questions. One around where the long occupation that you had, or the sort of Soviet period. What influence did this leave on Tajik or Badakhshani music and dance?
I would say positive as well as negative. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We sometimes say that we lost everything. I would not agree with this one. We didn't lose everything. Yeah, we lost certain things, particularly manuscripts, texts that were in Persian and Arabic. Such kind of things we lost, and also the performing was not open. As I said, with the exception of the funeral ceremony. To this one, yeah, it was the negative part. But the positive side is that they mixed it with the culture. And religion implicitly became part of the culture. And as you can, as you saw in the performance from the theater, yeah, it is the same text about God, but it performed in the theater. And it was unnoticed, or probably they knew it, but they just didn't remove it. Mm-hmm. And people, again, the negative side is people didn't have religious knowledge. The positive side is people had faith. Mm-hmm. It didn't diminish. It didn't diminish faith. It diminished religion as an institution.
Well, maybe that's what made it stronger.
As an authority.
Yeah. So actually being embedded in culture in that way
Yeah,
may
yeah,
have helped with the survival of it. There's also another gender or related question about, do women and girls play the rubab now, or is it still mainly a male dominated?
Now they do it. Yeah, and we showed the performance of Badakhshani, the one was dancing in the theater. Yeah, she's actually got a few performances on YouTube as well with the rubab. Yeah, and some others also, yeah. And even during the Soviet, we had only one lady. She was very old by the end of the Soviet, from a Russian district. Her name was Mojon. She was the only one that played rubab by that time. She was the only woman that I knew, actually.
Sorry, quite a few on the gender theme now. So
Yes,
would women have...
But not many.
No, but there's more questions. So would women have practiced music and dance in the home, so not in public, before?
Yeah, it was free for the women at home as well as in the public. For Badakhshani, as I said, that the material part and the spiritual part, they were the wedding that I show. Actually, it was during the Soviet time, it was like this, and even before the Soviet period, it was like this, the wedding. Male and female dance together. It was not a problem for Badakhshani, part of their religion. They did it always. Yeah, dancing never was a problem for the Ismaili women of Badakhshan.
Good to hear. There's a question around whether there's a difference between madḥiya and qaṣīda, or are they the same thing?
In terms of, let's say, genre of literature, as I said, that madḥiya is just one part of the qaṣīda. Qaṣīda is the wider, it can be about the nature, it can be about the life of human being, it can be also one of the kind of qaṣīda called khamriya, which is about wine as well. And the other is madḥiya, which is the praise. This is part of the, let's say, technical term in literature. But in terms of, let's say, in our context, they are the same. They are just used interchangeably. Yeah, in some part of the Badakhshan, they call it madḥiya-khānī, and in some others, they call it qaṣīda-khānī.
And of course, we have the qaṣīda tradition in other Persian-speaking Muslim communities as well.
Yeah, and it is the same actually.
Okay.
Yeah, there is no difference. Let's say the qaṣīda-khānī between northern Pakistan or Afghanistan or western China, it is the same.
There's a couple of questions around the drum, the daf that's used, whether this is only an instrument used in Badakhshan, and also about this, is there any symbolism? That's another question related to the use of the daf, the drum.
Rubab is very specific to Badakhshan, but daf, I don't think that it is specific to Badakhshan. It's performed for the madḥiya and for all other events as well. But I don't think that the origin comes from Badakhshan. We can see it in all the Iranian tradition as well, and even pre-Islamic period. We have so many evidence for the daf. Yeah. But it always just in all the period, actually, for the qaṣīda, we perform only daf and rubab, these two instruments. But now you can see other instruments as well.
Yeah, so that's part of that evolution, as you were saying, and change. Yeah. There is a question around the long-term goals of the School of Music. Will students get formal qualifications? Will they teach traditional literature and music? What are some of the long-term goals and your hopes for the school?
Yeah, it is the aim of probably any school. Yeah, and of course the aim of the school as well. So far we are giving a certificate, but I cannot say that this certificate is let's say, fully recognized by the, let's say, official organizations or like this. Yeah, but in the future, it is our aim that to make it in a legal way. It's still legal, but I mean,
You mean a formal
yeah,
accreditation?
the formal accreditation that we have to make it and give it a certificate. And the long term, actually, I was planning to do it the School of Art and Architecture. I just started with qaṣīda, and we have many painters in Tajikistan. So, and I want to introduce them also to the world. They have many very good painters, but they don't have access to the world market. And this is the second part. And the third one is architecture, which is very poor in Tajikistan. So, let's say the first one is in the highest. We have it, as you can, you saw it here, the musical part. It's ready. We just need to preserve it, and to show it. The second part, it is there, but we don't have a market for this. I mean, for the painting, for the art. And for the third one, in terms of architecture, it is still very weak, and that's why, this is the long term of the school, but we will see.
So it's not just staying limited to the musical heritage, but looking at other forms of heritage through painting and visual arts and even architecture.
And the next group, actually, I want to open now in Moscow.
So you have Khorog and Dushanbe, and now you're looking at Moscow.
Now I'm looking in Moscow as well. Probably we just started, but because of this pandemic, everything is stopped. And as soon as it opens, this is the first plan.
Inshallah. Okay. Thank you, Otambek. There's a lot of questions still that we haven't answered, but I think, you know, our time is now coming to an end. So I hope, you know, we wish you lots of luck, and hopefully you'll be able to develop some partnerships and with others, and you know, can look at the accreditation. And it's great that this is how you're sharing the heritage with the world as well. So thank you very much for giving us an insight into musical heritage and madḥiya-khānī in a specific region along the Silk Road. That was, I think, a really lovely way to spend the afternoon. And I think that Rahana, you've got a slide to share, just to let our viewers know that the Silk Road A Living History exhibition still continues in King's Cross till the 16th of June in Granary Square, and then it's moving to Lewis Cubitt Square just round the corner. So please come and visit. Also to say that there is a Silk Road Bazaar in Canopy Market, with Canopy Market in King's Cross as well. I think that's next weekend from the 11th to the 13th of June. There are still a number of events, talks in the Silk Road series of talks. So please visit the silkroadlivinghistory.org website and sign up for future events and talks. And there are some workshops that are also being run, artisan workshops with the Prince's School of Traditional Arts. So you may be interested in some of those too. And I think our next talk is on the 14th of June, and then we have one on the 23rd of June. So they're every Wednesday at lunchtime. Thank you very much. And I bid you farewell and a good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all participants, and thank you for having me and inviting me